Wolfpack, it's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with our last two best ball drafts of 2024. We were checking, it's kind of an impromptu show. We were both available for a quick hour and a half or so right now. We saw that Best Ball Mania is 97.5% full. Probably within the night at worst, by Saturday being wrapped up, this thing is going to be filled up. So we wanted to take our last two shots at the $1.5 million grand prize. Couldn't sleep with myself if I didn't get at least a little bit of Samaje Perine and Jordan Mason before this draft season wraps up. But it's been a fun one, my man. Well, we've been doing this since early March every week, a couple drafts.
Yeah, I remember it was the day after St. Patrick's Day or the day before was our first or second. So early March, yeah, and it might have been even earlier. I know we ripped a few big board drafts on stream, so it was just absolutely crazy. And it's been a long couple of months, and you're not even in a state where Underdog is legal, and you're still trying to fire off drafts before this thing closes up. I mean, that's how you know to what level we've been drafting these teams and been trying to get our share at getting the $1.5 million. So
exactly.
It's been a wild ride, but I am sad to see it come. But we'll finally get to see how these teams pan out. We can open the Underdog app in week 10, week 11, see which teams are just completely dust, and see which ones might have a chance to compete down the stretch.
I know. I can't wait to see how it goes. Certainly the biggest investment I've ever made in it. Had a solid year last year, which ultimately made it so I could max enter, just kind of reinvesting the funds here. And it's been awesome. It's been a fun ride. I've learned a lot. I feel like this year I've been listening to a ton more content, following more content. So hopefully we'll have an even better one here. We have the pick 10 here in this draft, as you guys who are joining us live can probably see. I think it's got to be Garrett Wilson, right?
I was going to say the same thing, and we can hopefully do some fun things with Josh Allen in round 4.
It would only be so fitting to wrap up. I think one of our first drafts ever was Josh Allen, early round 3, and we're like, oh man, anytime Josh Allen's early round 3, you got to take him. And now we know he's going late round 4. It'll all come full circle for us here as we wrap up draft season. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, I would love to get another Bills build in here before the draft season wraps up. I do love the 10 pick too. I mean, I know Puka's back at practice, so even 11's fine. It's really the 12 spot that's been so tricky to navigate. But yeah, once you get to that 10 hole, whether it's A.J. Brown or Garrett Wilson, I think it's a no-brainer. And I'm excited to see what he does with Aaron Rodgers this year. If there's anybody that ends up being kind of this year's CD Lamb, the bottom of the draft, but ends up seeing, 170 targets and just catching 12 touchdowns and 1,700 yards, I think Garrett Wilson's probably an even better bet than A.J. Brown, even though I do have Brown higher. And we are up, so we can make our pick, and I'll get your thoughts on him. I love Garrett Wilson, though.
I don't mind going Nico Collins here.
I love Nico. I like Debo, and I like Taylor. So I'm happy to stay in structure if you want to go Nico here. Fun little pairing.
I am making the push to make Nico Collins my highest owned receiver come the close of these tournaments, and I am getting very, very close.
Love to hear it. I think that's a great one to be banking on, especially in best ball. Again, they might be a little tricky in redraft, those Houston Texans, where you got 3 good mouths to feed. I think Stroud's going to keep them all very well fed. I think they're going to run 3 wide receiver sets at one of the highest clips. I think Nico's going to lead the way. So I still love him in redraft, but especially in best ball, where if there is the week where Nico's just not the guy, it's not going to kill us like it could in redraft. But we know he's going to have those 25, 30-point days like he had all last year. How do you defend this team? I'm so excited for this Texans team, man. It's going to be a blast.
Speaking of the 3 wide receiver sets, though, are you looking into the preseason stuff much at all? I mean, they were running 11 personnel 64%. It was the lowest rate among the lowest rates in the league in the preseason. I mean, everyone, and myself included, thought that this coaching staff was, I don't want to say competent, but just smart enough to realize you got to get these guys on the field at the same time as much as you can. And then they didn't in the preseason. I mean, I don't want to look too heavily into it, but we didn't really see that jump in those couple of games. I think it was 30 or so snaps with the starters, with Stroud and all those guys on the field, and they didn't really run 11 personnel at a super high rate. Are you looking into that at all too heavily, or kind of just hoping that they'll change things up when the regular season comes along?
I don't think I'm looking too deep into it. I mean, there is the worry because Bobby Slowick does come from the Shanahan tree, and they do.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan does run, two wide receiver sets out there with Debo and Ayuk. They very rarely do run three wide receiver sets. So if this is just a pure like Slowick, their ex-passing game manager, wants to do exactly what he did when he was with Kyle Shanahan, there's a concern there. There's no doubt about it. But why do you go out and trade for Stephon Diggs when you already have two ace wide receivers if you don't plan to change that up? I'm not going to I know a lot of people panicking about Tank Dell, only playing in three wide receiver sets and a 60% route share in the preseason. I'm not going to panic. I do think Slowick's a solid coordinator. I think you make a move for Stephon Diggs with a specific type of offense in mind. Maybe it won't be quite as high as like Sean McVay at 90% rate, even though it should be. But I don't think that. I think they're also just not trying to show their hands either. Like what are we? Teams don't typically show off what they're going to do full time in the preseason. That's why you don't want to overreact to the usage there. And that's not what I'm going to overreact to. And even if it is a weird situation, if we're going to bank on preseason usage, Nico Collins was out there for like 95% of the routes, better than what his clip was last year. He's about a 75% route player. I think it was Scott Barrett. Didn't he tweet something about like, with his yards per route run, if you extrapolated what his preseason route rate's been to what he did second highest yards per route run in the league last year, he would have finished as the wide receiver one ahead of CeeDee Lamb by like 2 points or something crazy. So if anything, at least Nico Collins is the safest of the bets, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't see that tweet from Barrett, but yeah, I was kind of looking more at Nico Collins the other day, and like it's just bonkers that he was able to do what he did on it. It was less than 75%. He was out there for 65% of snaps last year. It was just he was like basically a full-blown rotational receiver, not full-blown, but more than you'd expect for a guy who was producing at the level that he was. And yeah, 91% route participation in the preseason, and yeah, this guy is just going to go nuclear. I am not worried about it, regardless of format. I will be drafting Nico Collins probably in the second round, at the end of the second round, definitely early third round. I'm more than willing to get out of line and reach in terms of his ADP to get this guy on my team. I mean, they view this guy as the alpha wide receiver in this offense. I mean, we know Diggs is a rental, but it's Nico Collins' time. He is going to reap the rewards of CJ Stroud taking yet another step. But we're about to be on the clock here. We could lock up Josh Allen, or we can keep playing the wide receiver game. Any preference here for you?
Who's the best available? Let's see here.
We can keep going with the Texans and Diggs.
I'd rather lock up Allen, I feel like, because I have started to see him go a little earlier, and I just want to get that locked in. And I think Diggs might make his way back. If he doesn't, we'll figure it out from there. I'd rather lock it in, though. Make sure we get it, and hope Diggs continues to fall to us here. If he doesn't, Pacheco, I know he's falling. I know for good reason. Samaje Perine, who we haven't really had a chance to discuss. There's a few little news and nuggets. And by the way, of course, we get some questions, comments, tune coming on in here. Get your questions on in there, guys. And if you enjoy what you're hearing, that thumbs up button really does help us out. I know I'm not my usual recording home here. I don't have my mic, my camera. So a little bit out of sorts. But hey, if you enjoy what you're hearing, please do consider hitting that thumbs up button. Alrighty, so we are back on the clock. Do you think you go Zay Flowers coordinated with Nico here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I like it. I'm not a big Pittman fan. I'm dangerously low exposed to him if he ends up going out big. Just the Colts in general, I don't have a ton of, and I like the offense, so it does make me a little nervous to be lower on them. But pretty sketchy for sure. We'll see.
Such little Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I've been bumping it in recent drafts just because it does. I saw his playoff schedule. I'm like, oh man, like if I have none of him and I get a team through, and it gets just completely buried because this guy is he gets a joke. It's like the Giants in week 16, the Titans in week 17 rather for the Giants, week 16 for the other one. I mean, it could be brutal. So yeah, we'll see there. But Tune's got a question for us, and then we'll get back to that. So he says. 2 running backs, 3 receiver, 2 flex, 10 man, picking 10th, thinking wide receiver and running back at the 1-2 turn. Who are some targets for the 3-4? Currently going 3 miles per hour on 95. So glad to help you kill some time here, Tunes. Stuck in traffic. I mean, yeah, I do like the idea of one wide receiver and running back. I'm not opposed though to running back in these drafts, given the way in redraft how it falls. And you do start 3 receivers and 2 flexes. I don't know. I wouldn't rule out completely going running back there, Tunes. But at pick 10, I mean, I think we just kind of talked about it. Like AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, whichever one of them falls, probably makes the most sense. And then I'd be looking at Taylor. Who do you like of that running back group? Like Taylor, Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Achan, Barkley. Do you have a favorite? An interesting, like
Gibbs, JT, and Achan are up there for me. In PPR, you gotta love Gibbs. I mean, he's got the skill set to just as a rusher and a receiver to be game script proof. I mean, we've heard the talk of them wanting to get this guy more involved. We'll see what actually happens. I mean, they love David Montgomery, and I mean, why not? I mean, he serves his purpose extremely well. He does exactly what's asked of him. So obviously understand that David Montgomery is going to play a role in some capacity, but we know that this offense is strong enough to support Gibbs on a weekly basis. I mean, if he doesn't do it at the goal line, he can do it as a receiver. And when he's not seeing tons of targets, I mean, he's still getting reps from the goal line. It's not like it's a pure monopolization of the goal line attempts from David Montgomery. So there's enough work to go around in this backfield. And I would just much prefer to bet on the talent of Gibbs here and bet on the ascending guy who showed out as a rookie, to be honest. I mean, I didn't really think it was going to be that strong of a performance, and especially in the weeks where Montgomery wasn't on the field. I mean, this guy is will compete with Christian McCaffrey on a weekly basis if Montgomery's not on the field. So that's a guy I definitely want to get some shares of. But at the 3-4 turn, I do really enjoy Jalen Waddle and Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice might be pushing it. It'll be interesting to see how ADP adjusts now that like the official reports are out that he is not on the commissioner exempt list. But I've always stood that in the last couple of weeks when it's becoming more and more clear, I've always stood firm on him being acceptable anywhere in round 4. I mean, this guy dominated the shallow portion of the field for Mahomes last year. After he got bumped to, he wasn't even really a full-time guy. After he got a bump to above 60% route participation in week 7, he was averaging 15.5 PPR points per game moving forward. And that was enough to be the wide receiver 15 on the year last year if that was across a full season. So this guy just owns the shallow portion of the field. He's going to eat up targets in PPR. And so I just expect him to be a really strong option. If you can get him as a wide receiver 2 in your draft, I am grinning from ear to ear in drafts where I can leave with Rashee Rice in any pick after round 4.
Yeah, I love the call. We're going to make our pick in a second. But one thing I was going to bring up is if you had one regret, one thing you could change in these best ball drafts, we've done so many, what would it be? So we'll think of that, and mine involves Rice's, which is why I'm bringing that up. Let's make our pick, though. Worthy goes right ahead of us, unfortunately. Calvin Ridley, is my boy. I love him. If you feel like we got to get a running back here, fine. But I don't need Mixon here.
Let's grab one around the turn. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, none of those guys separate enough to me.
No.
Do we have our tight end, though? We don't have a tight end yet either, right?
No tight end. I'm always a fan of grabbing Kyle Pitts here. He's officially now my highest owned tight end on Underdog. I will have you know. I bumped the exposure, and we are all the way back in. Call me a masochist, but I am ready to be hurt again. This guy is going to be awesome this year.
I'd be okay with it. I'm in on – I like the rebound. If you're going to be in on the guy, it's a good – it would be a never again if he doesn't pan out. I feel like people have been saying that for quite a few years now. But, there's truly no excuses, and everything is set up there. I am a little worried. We haven't seen a single good report yet. Kyle Pitts is just dominant. Him and Kirk Cousins love each other. I'm a little concerned I haven't seen a thing like that at all. I'm trying to think, too, is there any correlation between Pitts or Kittle that would be better, or does Mixon make more sense here?
Yeah, I was just going to say Mixon's the clear correlation choice. I'm fine with either. What do you think here?
I think correlation-wise, let's go Mixon. Maybe we get I mean, I know we already have Allen, so we don't need Stroud, but there is the chance we could just have an absolute powerhouse quarterback room correlate with 2 of our weapons here. And there goes your boy Pitts. I do have far more interest these days in Evan Ingram, but he is starting to get bumped up too. So I don't think he'll make it all the way back to us in round 7, but you never know. He does slip a good amount of these. So like between Ferguson and Ingram, I've gotten a lot more comfortable waiting on tight end in these drafts as well. But yeah, to wrap up your question too, because I do think it's a great question as well. I agree with Mo in terms of like I think you want to get a running back there in round 2, probably Gibbs in full PPR. I think he's my favorite of all those other ones. Just hope that Hammy's good to go. But because you can start up to 5 receivers in a full PPR league, I mean I think this is really where I'd like a hero running back type of build. And if it's Rice in round 4, if you don't think he's going to fall to round 5, he's totally justifiable in round 4. I love Cooper Kupp in that round 3 to 4 area. If he falls to you, like that's a no-brainer in my opinion. But I do think following up with 2 of those receivers, there are so many good receivers falling in Yahoo or ESPN that you don't necessarily have to. But I would be planning on starting, 5 receivers there, and so at least one receiver in that 3-4 range, and maybe a Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts if they fall to you. I know in PPR it's less valuable, but it's such an elite edge, and in 10-man, like to find those edges is so crucial because there's going to be good enough waiver wire guys. So I would consider going at an elite quarterback in that range as well, but plan to start 5 receivers. I like Cooper Kupp. I like Waddle. I do like Rice if you don't think he'll make it to you in round 5. I do know Worthy's falling to like 99. I've taken him in every single redraft league I have so far, and I will never regret it. So I'm a big fan of it for sure. Yek saying he just bought the guide. Thank you for all the hard work. Cheers to another season. Yek, thank you so much. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. I just pushed through an update. I don't know if it's in the email or not yet. So I sent out the updated one just before we went live. If you did not get one that says 8:30, let me know, and I'll make sure to shoot you the latest update right after we go. But cheers to another season. Thank you so much for the support. I hope you enjoy the guide. Anybody else out there that wants my guide, so just $10, and it's the only thing we sell all year, so it would be greatly appreciated if you consider supporting your boy. I know it will pay itself off in 100 times over when you crush your league. You're taking down the thousands. Do consider supporting us for sure. Fletcher Cox, I'll definitely be commenting on in there. I think he's from my Holy Cross League over there. We'll have to get an answer there for him. Yeah, it's actually a great question. Why don't we pull it in real quick? Do I trade? We had a few picks up here. Do I trade Mostert for Sutton? I would say absolutely not. What about you?
I mean, with zero context, it's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, I don't really see a reason to. I mean, both of these guys last season, like they paid off in a way just because they sun run touchdowns. Like Mostert goes
one
for
scored
21.
10 and one scored 21. Like I'll go with the one that Sun ran for 21. Well,
Yeah,
I think it's a better
exactly.
shot not maybe repeating 21, but like if you had to bet who's going to score 10 touchdowns again next year, Mostert or Sutton, I'd say Mostert 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I would also, just given the offensive environment and the fact that as long as he's healthy, we know he is going to play a role in this offense in some capacity. I'm going to take Keon Coleman here, by the way.
Yeah, stack up Allen. I like the move. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's much easier to bet on the Miami offense than it is to bet on the Denver offense. And I know that we get our pieces here and there in like these best ball drafts. Just because they're so cheap and easy to correlate. But there's not many players in the Denver offense that I want for redraft. I think the list starts and ends with Jaleel McLaughlin. Maybe like Javonte in the right situation.
I think Javonte's a good pick where he goes.
Yeah. But in terms of the receivers, like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing really gets it going for me with their pass catchers. I just don't.
I like Bo Nix too, and that's what he's asking about. Like, does Bo Nix change things? The fact that he had 10 touchdowns last year with a much lesser QB situation is encouraging, and I don't even hate Sutton. Like, I think there's definitely some upside there. We'll make our pick and then fully answer that one. I don't like these running backs. I'm not gonna lie.
You want to go tight end?
Who's there?
Bowers and Njoku.
Yeah, maybe we go Bowers. We haven't done a ton of Bowers, and we're shooting for the moon here. So
I'm fine with Bowers. It's a little bit of a reach.
Makes it back. We double tap tight end back to back. Just because I looked at that, it's just like like I don't like Swift that much. Stevenson does nothing for me. Warren, yeah, maybe, but I'm still a little cautious of the hammy. I think Cortland Sutton, the guy of the hour here, we was talking about, was sitting there. I do like Bo Nix, and there are talk of like the way he's distributing it, and Sutton being the clear cut number one. And it's the Michael Thomas for Sean Payton, but it's Cortland Sutton. It's not prime Michael Thomas, and so there's only so far that narrative can go. Either way, it's not even that I don't like Sutton. It's more so I like Mostert. I like the Miami offense. I know he's 32, but he's going to be the lead goal line guy for as long as he holds up, and he didn't have tons of injuries last year by any means. So I hold Mostert there. I think, again, unless your team is heavy on running backs and you're desperate for wide receivers, I think you're in better shape keeping Mostert than Sutton in this one, Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, I think keeping Mostert here is probably in your best interest. I mean, yeah, like I think you saw like a winning season out of like Cortland Sutton last year. Like that I think that season is like the kind of season that's a win. What do you have, 11 touchdowns, and it's not like and you saw the winning season out of Raheem Mostert. It just like the ceiling, even though he's a 32-year-old running back, is just infinitely higher. And I don't think that Bo Nix changes I think the Denver offense could like jump up from like a bottom barrel offense to an average one, but I don't think that there's any world where they're like a top 10 offense. It's just, I don't think that's in the range of outcomes. And we're basically expecting the Miami offense to be a top 10 offense. Like if they don't finish in the top 10, that's a disappointment. So I just don't see, unless you're just like desperately in need of a wide receiver and you need to offload a running back to do so, like maybe, but I just don't see any world where it really makes sense.
No, I don't. So yeah, what I was getting at as we were answering Toons's question there, and Dobbs or Sutton doesn't make much of a difference to me either. Fletcher Cox, they're both in that same kind of tier. I'd rather have Mostert either way. We were talking about the question I wanted to bring up is like, if you could change one thing about what you did in these drafts this offseason, one regret. Mine is just not buying the dip nearly enough on Rashee Rice. I was definitely in the camp that I was worried about his suspension. And then the more I thought about it, it's like, even if it was 4 games, around 6 Rashee Rice would have made complete and utter sense. Even right now where he's going around 3 and 4, like I wish I had been doing it more. I still have like 5 or 6%. Like I have a blanket, but that's a guy that's a sheet. I don't even have a blanket. I wish I had like a full-on quilt, and I wish I had everything. I don't have a lot of Rice, and that's
you only got to 6% Rashee Rice.
Yeah, it's not good. It's
what?
Not good. Yeah, what are you at? What did you end up at?
I don't know between Underdog and DraftKings, but on Underdog I'm at 15%, and I plugged it into Michael Dubner's exposure tracker. Shout out to him. That thing is phenomenal. I'm sitting at an ADP of 74.6 on Rashee Rice. It's going to come up a little bit, but after like this last handful of drafts, but it's going to sit like under an average ADP of like 60 for me. So I very successfully bought the dip and hammered away at him while he was sitting there.
Regret. Yeah, not doing that is definitely my biggest regret. For what it's worth, on DraftKings, I have like 40% Xavier Worthy, where he was going in like the 80s, and I took him every single time. So I at least have some good Chiefs investment. It's just not Rice, and I do think Rice is going to be the far steadier guy.
Let's make a pick, and then I'm going to divert us to a different direction here. What do you think here? Brooks, Chase Brown, Brian Robinson.
Chase Brown, no Samaje Perine, probably going to be the lead back. Yeah, I love just getting as much of the Bengals backfield, and I have a good amount of Brown, and I want more. I want to keep going. This is why I don't mind not going too heavy on running backs. I love this little pocket at the end of round 1, or when you're at the end of the draft, like in this like 10 to 11 range between Singletary, Robinson. Pollard used to fall here, doesn't really anymore. I wouldn't hate like Jonathan Brooks, I guess, right now, but I kind of like a Singletary or a Robinson. Play the hits. We have like Mixon, Brown, if one of those other safer guys comes. But Brooks obviously brings the ceiling, so I'd be open if you prefer him to these guys. But yeah, I like getting at least one more running back in this pocket. And I don't even know what else is out there. I don't really need to, I don't think, at the other positions.
Yeah, I think we're pretty set in terms of how we hammered wide receiver really early, and this is the running back pocket. We don't really need to address quarterback here. Really, I don't think we should at all. We can figure that out later on. I think Brian Robinson's the pick here if he's there. We'll see what this guy does, but
Spears, if not, whichever one of those guys makes it to us, we just take the running back.
yeah, I'm fine with that. And this guy's going to time out and probably take Robin, and he takes Spears. So let's go Robinson here. That's one of my favorite one of these running backs in this range. So I think we're set up pretty good here. But the direction that I wanted to divert us to is the fallout of the Brandon Ayuk signing. I am very thrilled that he stayed with the 49ers. I bought the dip heavily, but the question I did want to ask is, do you think this basically turns Pearsall into almost a stone cold zero? Like we know how little they run 11 personnel. He hasn't been practicing like at all this preseason. Like he might not even get on the field for week 1. He's been in a non-contact jersey this week. Like I just he was a reach as a first round pick to begin with. It's just getting harder for me to want to invest in this whatsoever.
I don't know if it's a stone cold zero, only because of there's always going to be handcuff upside there, and if one of those guys between Debo and Ayuk go down,
is it Juwan though?
It could be Juwan. That's why I'm not fully bought in that it's Pearsall, but you can see the scenario where that happens, and I always like to think of it like, okay, if this was your fantasy football league, how much fab would get thrown down? Like, let's say we had some good glimpses of Pearsall over the year. He's not a full-time player, but he makes a couple nice moves when he gets in and has a touchdown or two here or there. And it is clear he's the third guy and somebody goes down. He's the type of guy like people would throw half their waiver wire budget, if not like a full entire load at. So that's the type of guy that like I'm still okay drafting if he falls. I've gotten him in like 180, 190 at times in here, but certainly no one I'm seeking out, and definitely not like the 140 or 150 where his ADP's at. But yeah, I still think like he's never a zero based on the fact that he has first round draft capital in a great offense and is an injury away to probably being the guy. But we know Shanny does play those games. He played the games with Ayuk where he put him in the doghouse for too long. So I'm not saying that Pearsall's the stone cold clear number 3. Cowens looked good. He's gotten praise from Shanny, and Juwan's always been a Shanny guy. So that's not even a lot. That's another reason why he's not like a great pick by any means, and certainly not at his price. But I could see a world like that's where I like to think about like my last round is like what guy would just you bid 100 of your fab on if things are working right on your waiver wire. I think Pearsall's one of those guys that could be like, yeah, let's unload the clip.
Yeah, I fear that even if he realizes that contingent upside, like in quote unquote realizes, like if someone gets hurt, like I just think that there's a realistic shot that he's not even the next man up, which is just it's killer. Like you mentioned, we've seen him doghouse some of these younger guys before, and it's not ideal for what you want out of a guy who is a contingent play that he's not even guaranteed to realize that contingent value if one of the guys goes down. So outside of that, where are you drafting Ayuk now that he is like confirmed a 49er for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I mean, in these best ball drafts, I think he should still be going that round 2-ish turn, round 2-3 turn right there. So anytime you got him in round 3, and I know in DraftKings you could get him at like the end of round 3 for a lot, is a steal. I think it's great. I think he should be going right there towards the top of round 3 at the latest. It is still a guy that only saw like 105 targets last year. So like I know he was crazy efficient, but I know your whole argument against Brock Purdy was like he'll never be that efficient again. Well, I don't know. Ayuk is awesome. He's such a great player. But it's hard for me to click on a receiver that's only seeing 105 targets much earlier than then. But he's just so talented too. So like I get it. But either way, you got to feel despite that low volume, like it's good to know he's right where he is and likely to do similar things to what he did last year. There has been big news though, like over these last few days that we haven't really had a show on, so we could talk through some of that. I like going Big Mike Williams here. Correlates with our week 17. He looks ready to go. I know it's not a guy you have a lot of, and I think it's somebody that you might want to get a little last exposure here to him. So
yeah, I've been clicking him here and there. I mean, I expected him to come up draft boards, but he's kind of just stayed bottomed out in that like 130 to 140 range. I mean, I remember like the first time I really went on a Mike Williams rant is when he was going in the 110s. So it's a far more palatable price
Yeah.
these days. And even with the news that he is gonna play week one, he's still he's still kind of staying in that pretty easy to click kind of range. So I feel more comfortable now, considering that he hasn't jumped back up and the price has stayed reduced from where we first, or at least I first thought it was pretty horrible. So yeah, it's a much easier click now. I think we go Schultz here, perhaps. I mean, we don't really have the quarterbacks, but we are correlating this game pretty heavily.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And we could use a stable tight end to balance out Brock Bowers. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I do love my guy Jalen Wright here, and he's probably not going to make it back to us, unfortunately, in this next round. But there have been now with like Jordan Mason emerging as a great handcuff, with Samaje Perine emerging as a great handcuff with benefits. There's so many good running backs that you can get in that like round 14 to 17 range at this point. That I honestly sometimes like only having 2 to 3 and just being able to pluck the Bucky Irving, the Kamani Vidal still going in the 170s. There's so many you can play. Like there's 12 of them that I just really like in that range. So as much as I do like Jalen Wright, the most of those guys, it's not something I have to force. And I think Schultz makes sense in a build that's probably going to have 3 tight ends, even with Bowers there. I still like to kind of do 3 tight ends with him just in case it takes a little while, but best tight end prospect of a while. Did you have a regret, Mo? Like mine was not enough for Rashee Rice. If you could like go back and change one thing about your draft season, is there a player you were too in on, not in on enough? You don't think? Like who scares you most right now?
I clicked Zay Jones at like a 10% clip to open the draft season. That was just horrible thinking and overall process by me. That like obviously it's mellowed out very after. I mean, that lasted maybe a month, and we've been doing this for several months at this point. So that my Jones exposure is toned down, but to like well below face value, like standard value. So that's fine. I'm trying to think.
I have a lot of Marvin Mims. Didn't you end up with like a lot of Marvin Mims too?
Oh yeah, I have way more than I should have. And now I was texting back and forth with some of my buddies. I fell ass backwards into a lot of just like getting really lucky with some of this stuff. I mean, like Ayuk staying with the Niners, Mims, all these guys getting cut. Luke McCaffrey with Dotson getting traded. I mean, Luke McCaffrey's no guarantee yet, but I mean, a lot clearer of a runway now that the guy who they were planning to start in the slot is gone. So yeah, I've gotten pretty lucky on some of these things. That you can call it luck, you can call it foresight, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, one of the ones that I guess my big regret, I still am overweight on Jaden Daniels, but I wish I was even more overweight on Jaden Daniels. I mean, this guy, I've said it before on the show, like there are a couple of guys every year who present a very obvious opportunity to capitalize on the rushing upside, but their price is still held down because of the unknown of what they're going to do as a full-time starter. For Daniels, it's coming in his rookie year. The other guys that come to mind, like specifically Jalen Hurts, the year that he got the nod to be the starter. So his price is being held down by the unknown, but I mean, we know what this guy can do. It was 1,100 yards on the ground last year, over 800 in the year before at LSU, and obviously has the arm as well. I mean, his highlight tape's just littered with darts to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, it helps when you have multiple round one talents as your wide receivers, but still, I mean, this guy's got the arm. We know he is willing to run at an incredibly high rate. So I'm really excited about Jaden Daniels. I'm overweight, but do wish I had more.
Yeah, I think it's a great one to toss out there. I ended up being my 3rd highest exposed QB, but when you filter by Best Ball Mania, he was only like my 6th or 7th. So I've gotten him in a ton of those other smaller single entry, those types of things. I wish I had more. So I was going to say he makes a lot of sense here, Rogers, but he also has the same buy as Allen.
You want to tack on a 3rd QB?
I don't know. That's the tricky part here with Allen, and that's why it's tough to like stack that game. I like going maybe Jordan Mason. Why we don't have a lot of him? He's going to be low drafted in here. I know it's early, but I'd say cue him up. I'd like this kind of running back pocket here, and then we can better prepare for the next one. Maybe Braylon Allen to stack our game. I love Bucky Irving still. Let's see what else is out. So we have. I mean, I like our receivers a lot. We got what now? 1-4. 2-1-4-6-2.
Yeah.
And I think we got like the Yoshis coming. I don't feel like we have to force a receiver or a QB even. But we might want to set up something backdooring.
Yeah, we can do Levis on the way back around.
We have Calvin Ridley. Yeah, so we have options here.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that comes to mind. Do you want to do receiver or a running back here?
I think we keep going with the running back trend here. This has like the feel of a 2-6-8-2 to me. I would have liked Bucky there. Is there anyone that correlates well with what we're doing?
Not really.
I know. Yeah, that's one thing that I don't know if it's a regret or not. I haven't done the best of matchup correlating. I'd toss out there Vidal, Lloyd, or Herbert. I have a lot of Lloyd, and I'm kind of happy with that. You want to just do Vidal and
yeah. Khalil Herbert is currently my highest owned player in all of these drafts.
Wow. I wouldn't be mad about that.
Yeah, I haven't really put that out there just yet into the ether. But yeah, I guess I can just give my reasoning. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I've always thought that this would not be a pure DeAndre Swift backfield, and the preseason usage has confirmed that. I mean, it was messy. Like, it's not perfect splits, but I mean, it looks like they're going to use Khalil Herbert in conjunction with DeAndre Swift. I mean, we've seen Swift get touches taken away basically every stop of his career. We've seen Swift go down with injury at almost every stop of his career. We've seen coaches fall out of love, not even necessarily fall out of love, just start hating DeAndre Swift at almost every stop of his career. Like, I on a half PPR site where Swift's pass catching stuff doesn't mean as much, it's easy for me to bet against DeAndre Swift, and especially through a running back, like in an offense that I want to have shares of. So I have been loading up Khalil Herbert. He just pops out for me in that range of running backs, especially like him and Bucky Irving are the two guys that I've been really hammering in that range. But I do think Khalil Herbert is really strong, a really strong pick in that range. It helps that we also know that he is good at football. A lot of these other guys, we don't know how they look or will look when they hit the NFL field. I mean, it's a lot of guys who just either are rookies or haven't had the reps. And it's not like Herbert's been a super high reps guy to this point in his career. I mean, he's never been a true starter, but I mean, one of the most efficient backs every single time he touches the ball. And he has proven that he can be an NFL caliber running back, unlike some of these other guys. So I want pieces of this offense. I don't believe in DeAndre Swift as a workhorse type of guy, and I don't really think anyone is delusional enough to think that. I mean, maybe they look at the contract and think that, but I'm looking to bet against Swift, and it's pretty easy for me to do it through Herbert.
I think it's a great point. I love Herbert, and we were talking about him when we did like our early best ball sleepers back in like late March, as a guy that even if he doesn't get traded is so efficient, multiple 30-plus point spikes in his resume. I love him. I think he's a great running back, and it could be like a Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, where Sanders got hugely paid, and the team just gets fed up with him because he just dances around, doesn't do what he's supposed to do. I could definitely see that type of situation playing out, and I don't have any Swift, so I have some Herbert. Not my highest exposed player. I have probably 12% though. He's definitely up there with my running back exposure. So I'm a big fan. We got a few great questions coming on in just to kind of map out and make sure we have some time till our picks. But I do think this is the range we want to lock up Levis ideally. We probably want to get a receiver. Maybe Yoshi correlates with Chase Brown. Get some more Bengals in our team on the way after that. This is a decent range to consider Samaje Perine, though, as well. I really think he has some huge upside as the clear Bills, Chiefs running back too.
Well,
So yeah,
just Jerick McKinnon's this thing and goes for like 8 touchdowns in the last 11 games of the year and finishes as the RB20. I mean, yeah,
exactly.
you could have some value. It's not even like contingent value. It's just like runs absurd on touchdowns and I mean, is it crazy to think like with how heavily they pass in the red zone and near the goal line, like he could get some goal line reps? Like, is
Absolutely
that
not
too much
crazy.
to think? Like even like not even necessarily like targets, like carries, like Mahomes audibles at the line of scrimmage and it ends up being a carry. I mean, I don't
McKinnon
know. Like,
scored on a ton of those. He had 9 receiving touchdowns though too, just 2 years ago. Like, absolutely. And Brett Beach already said, like, they asked him, like, oh, why Piran? The first thing he said was Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon role, great pass protector, great receiver. And it's what he does. He led the NFL in yards per route run among running backs last year. Like, the guy can catch passes. When he started for Joe Mixon just 2 years ago, he had a 30-point day and 2 20-point days. Like, he can just eat volume if something happens to Pacheco. If not, he has that Stanley. I'm a huge fan of Piran. Like, I honestly don't want to miss on him. Khalil Herbert almost fell back to us though, which would have been just like, okay, we can't pass up on Herbert there.
I would have
So
tacked on one more share.
yeah, exactly. Um, and then yeah, but where's Ford and Chubb going? We'll answer that one for you in a sec, Tunes. Let's make our pick here.
Levis.
Yeah, you want to just lock him up?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to risk him getting away from us because it is ugly out there. And then yeah, why don't you show me the top available and we can. I mean, maybe it is Pirine, maybe it's Yoshi.
We're gonna need to get a receiver here somewhere.
Yeah, but again, I like our guys. Like we when you load up early, like we do, to not overinvest is fine. You take some splashes. I mean, do you want to just to take the plunge on Pirine here, or he's
No.
down? He's not going to make it back to us, I don't think.
I think we lock up a receiver here.
Yoshi, then let's go Yoshi.
All right.
I want to keep eating him right now.
That's fair. I wonder what his ownership will end up at. I mean, when did he start getting drafted? Like basically every time. I mean,
a few weeks ago. Like he'll
yeah,
probably
like,
be like 30% at most, I would say.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Best Ball Mania was about like 70% fill. And even then, when the hype started, we were getting him at like 210. You know, he wasn't always going drafted in those. In terms of Ford and Chubb, it's definitely different in redrafts, especially when you have an IR spot. Chubb does become a bit more palatable. I would say I see them going right now, both kind of in the 120s in best ball. Chubb goes a little earlier in redraft. And I think they're both fine picks. I don't know. I don't have really any Ford, and that could be one of my mistakes because he has a really clear open path. They did bring back Donta Foreman though, so it's not like the touchdown vulture still probably exists there. I just haven't been into Ford at all this preseason. Not a guy I've been in on much.
I drafted him recently as a bridge to Jonathan Brooks, and I think he serves that purpose perfectly. But yeah, outside of that, it's hard to get super fired up about Ford outside of because when you're wanting him to be firing on all cylinders, it's like even if Chubb is bad, they're still gonna work him in. I mean, unless he just has a setback or something. I mean, there's no capacity where Nick Chubb is whatever form of healthy that he is, and Ford is still dominating the touches over him. We saw Ford lose goal line work to Kareem Hunt last year. I mean, even in a season where he was given the runway to take over here, it was still low end RB2 production. I mean, if you're using him as a bridge to Jonathan Brooks, that's what you're hoping for is just some solid RB2 production. Give me 6 weeks and then someone else will take over. But if you're wanting Ford to be your guy throughout the year, I mean, even when he is given the opportunity to do great things, and those great things are RB20 to RB24 on a week-to-week basis, I mean, that's not super exciting. And then when things really matter the most, he's got Nick Chubb, even if he's unproductive, still just gnawing at his workload and just stealing carries. It's just not something that I'm super interested in. It's just a real boring bet. I'm not taking him very often unless it's just it's to get to Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, I do think they are like both Ford and Hubbard are very interesting in redraft where like you don't typically get that type of guaranteed like probably good RB2s, both of those guys for the first four, however long ended up being needed. And when you have an IR spot and you can get those guys, like I actually do kind of like whether it's the Brooks and Ford, Brooks and Hubbard, Chubb and one of those two as well. It is a unique opportunity where we don't typically have like a that clear cut like one going after 130 that you can just count on. So in redraft, I'm doing it a bit more. But yeah, I don't know. The prices it's all over the place. You don't know what's going to happen. We got Christian Watson or Jay Reed for Fletcher's Croc. To me, it's clearly Jaden Reed for me. Toon says Watson. I'm not a fan of. I mean, the hamstring, all the issues there with injuries. Sure, if somebody hits the biggest possible they could hit, like Watson Sealing's probably the highest out of all these guys. I've seen enough with the hammies. I've dealt with the issues. Give me the guy that's kind of used like Deebo Samuel, that 200 points, PPR points as a rookie. The track record of like it's so high when somebody hits that well as a rookie to go on and have a phenomenal career and like explode as sophomores. I just like Jaden Reed a lot more as a player in terms of his role, his move around usage. I think Jaden Reed's like a good step above Christian Watson for me. What about you?
Yeah, I've had a hard
You're not a
time.
Reed guy though. Didn't you write about Reed being one of your grades?
I've had a hard time with him in the fifth round in these best ball drafts. That's not where you have to take him in
He
these.
goes like 80s. He goes like 80s in Reed.
Yeah, you don't have. Before I get to that, so are you wanting to go 3 tight ends here with Bowers and grab Okonkwo to go along with Levis, or you want to go? You want to go running back receiver here then?
Let me see what we got.
We got Tracy here at running back, who I think is probably the strongest pick on the board.
I like Tracy or Estime. We don't have a Broncos back, and we do have a lot of Bengals things. I would start Estime real quick. I like him more than Tracy. Yeah, get him in. I do like Tracy too, though. I don't hate Tracy.
And then we're probably going receiver here then.
I guess so, but I feel okay with the 7 we have if we don't. Like Drake May at this late, I know it's not really necessarily a 3 QB team, but it's like, okay, I know he's not starting week 1, but we saw the cannon arm. We saw the rushing. I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to Drake May. You get a week 16 thing there with Josh Allen just a little bit with the Bills thing we're building out. I don't know. I think it's not the worst pick there. I don't hate Diami Brown, and I don't hate Tyron Tracy. Like our running backs are pretty ugly. And I know you don't love doing 7 running backs, but I think we're good with our 7 receivers. I really do, unless there's a lot of concerns.
You want to go running back?
If you don't want to go Drake May, then maybe we go Tracy. He's okay with me.
I'd rather go Tracy than Drake May.
All right, fine. I like Tracy. He's a guy that I like for sure.
I think he's a great pick at 207.
Yeah, and if you wanted to get in with us, I think we should probably get the other one just kind of cooking up. Real quick here. We'll do our team review and whatnot in a second, but the goal is to squeeze out our last 2 here of the season. So yeah, we'll get something cooking here.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the next draft right now.
So if you want to draft with us, if you're live here, the 180. If you're not, get that thumbs up button. Continue to help and support your boys. Grow the channel here. A lot of good questions coming in. We'll continue to answer, but those thumbs up, the likes, the shares, the retweets. Hopefully we can get over to 200. We had like about 400 on our sleeper show the other night, which was awesome. I know this was an impromptu one. We didn't schedule it. We didn't, I don't have my equipment, so I know that YouTube doesn't like that either. But ultimately, we just wanted to get a couple drafts in. Why not make a little content out of it?
This thing is gonna barely eke out into the morning. I mean, why not get the last couple of drafts in? So it's really coming. It's winding down. It's been a grind, but we had to get a couple more in. We had to.
Yeah, we couldn't just retire and go into the night without some noise. What's our we got 5 here too, not bad, towards the top of the draft where we don't normally land. I'll tell you what I want to do at 5 in a second. But Captain Joking, thank you, saying you're a fan of the show. You're already a sub. Love to hear it. And anybody else out there, if you haven't subbed yet, we're making that climb to 4K. I don't know if we'll hit it before the season. That's a big goal, but certainly within the first couple of weeks would be amazing. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. Mike, crazy to think that Saquon is in a CMC situation, or even better. Now, there is an article out there that the Eagles beat said they expect him to have a CMC level of impact, that he was the the most involved pass catcher in the first few days of camp. Great offensive line. There's a lot that there's to like about there. I also just don't think Saquon, as good as he was, there's so many underlying like ugly metrics, and a lot of that could probably be attributed. Probably, it definitely can be attributed to the offensive line, the environment he's been in. But even in the best case scenario, I do not think CMC was in a horrible situation and just was at a different level than Saquon. So I don't think we can automatically just say like, yes, these are apples and oranges. Could the usage mirror it? Yes, but also CMC does not have a Jalen Hurts vulturing 15 touchdowns a year as well. So I don't think we can say it's apples to oranges. I mean, I think it's more of an apples and orange situation rather. But I'm getting at joking, even though there's a lot to like about a situation. Now, here I was going to push for Breece Hall, and he went 101. So I don't like Chase. I don't like that he's holding out right now. I'd say if you want to go Jefferson or St. Brown, that's fine. I don't want Chase, and I know you need some to your portfolio. You can do it without me. I'm not drafting Chase right now.
Fine.
I won't let it happen.
No, I sufficiently bought the Chase dip on DraftKings, so if Chase goes nuclear, I'll lose everything on Underdog, but be fine. I got him at 11 in a DraftKings draft.
Okay, yeah, buy him there. Buy him anytime at 8 or beyond, but not.
You're in at 11. That's what you're telling me.
I'll take him at 11, no doubt about it. I'll take him at 8, but I'm not taking him over Justin Jefferson, over Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would have even said if you wanted to go Bijan, but we have a bunch of Bijan teams already, so we don't need to do that. I think Jefferson's a clear click over him, and I think St. Brown's a clear click over him at this point. Even without the holding out stuff, I would have preferred those guys. So now that's another red flag here. I know you want to do it. I know you're a Bengals fan. I also love – we were laughing when we both got on. We didn't plan that. I was going to be in a Michigan Friends shirt, and Mo was going to be in a Buckeye shirt over there. But a good budding rivalry for sure.
I mean, it's not really a rivalry anymore. We just get our ass kicked every single year now. It's one way or the other with this thing. I mean, either Michigan owns Ohio State or Ohio State owns Michigan. I have no comment. It'll get me or no further comment rather. It'll get me too uptight about how easily they're willing to give up. But the mighty Buckeyes take on the Akron Zips this weekend, and the spread currently sits at just a shade under 50 points.
Oh my God.
And I think that we will. I think we'll push for a cover. Roto Street Journal legend CJ, a known Ohio State Buckeye, and he believes that the Akron might be held to 0 points.
Oh, man. Wouldn't shock me at all. I can't see Akron putting up any points. Now, before we move on from Joking, again, thank you, Joking, for being a subscriber, being a fan of the show. Great to have you here live with us. We did recently do our bust episode, and I know Saquon was one of your picks for a bust. So do you want to give Joking the kind of like 20-second bust Saquon spiel, the 1 minute Saquon bust here?
20 seconds is hard to do, but I will try my best to stay in that range.
No, you can go a minute too till our next pick.
Yeah. So here, let's make our pick really quick, and then I can make my call. So who do you like here? I've got Waddle at the top, and ADP's got Waddle as well.
Let me see what we got. I can't see the. I don't hate Waddle. I like Adams. I love Achane. I almost lean Achane here over Waddle, but if you really like Waddle, that's totally fine. I do not have a lot of Waddle, so I'd be fine with it. But,
all right, let's go Waddle.
Fine. I do prefer Achane by a decent amount, but hey, that's fine. That's fine.
But you can get them so much later. You can do Waddle and Achane teams pretty easily.
I don't think Achane's been going routinely in round 2 nowadays.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe he'll make it back to us. I'd love it if he did, but I don't think he'll get past the Tyreek team. He doesn't very often. And it's all good. We could always get the punt returner for the Rams in round 3 instead.
Well, yeah, the punt returner for the Rams. It's I don't know what to make of that. It's so hard. I feel like I just want to buy the dip. I don't know about you.
I love it. I think it's dumb. I mean, he may return a punt or two a game. Like I'm not overly
Exactly. Like, I don't know. It seems like Jurassic Jones doesn't care, but it's like the classic, like, just fantasy football, like, reacts to a 3-sentence quote that, like, they blow out of proportion. And I don't know. I mean, like, I guess it's more than a couple of sentences, because I mean, it's literally changing what he's doing on the field, but it's a little overblown to me. And I don't know. I'm not going to react to it that heavily.
Yeah. All right. I think we get Adams round 3. We have to do it. That's one of the things I'm so low on Chris Olave right now, but that's one of the things I was going to even bring up is like maybe we go Olave because I've seen Adams falling to round 3 and you correlate those two games. But obviously we went Waddle instead, and that's fine with me too. But what do you think? Adams for sure, or do you prefer an Evans? Devonta Smith?
Well, we're not going to have the choice there. I usually go Devonta.
Oh, I thought we were up. Sorry, I didn't even realize that.
No. We're up the next pick. So I would grab Evans at 29 if he's there. I'm fine with that.
I think either of those receivers, Devonta or Evans, make perfect sense. Even DK, I love too. I've been doing a bit more DK. But yeah, did you want to give Captain Joe King after our pick here? Let's go Evans, I'd say. Want to give him the bus spiel for?
Yeah, I can give you the rundown here. I mean, there's the real obvious one is like the tush push stuff. Like, everyone knows that. Jalen Hurts leads the league in touchdowns from the 1-yard line in the last 3 years. He's got 21. The next closest guy is Jamal Williams. He's got 14. And there's only like 16 guys with double digits, or not 16, 6 guys with double digits. So his usage at the goal line is just absolutely ridiculous. And I know some people think that they're going to go away from it, but I mean, it's the most effective short yardage play in the history of the NFL. Like, why would you at least not attempt? Like, obviously, if it falls apart without Kelsey there, why would they not attempt to do this? It's a free yard or two every single time they run the play. So that's the biggest concern. And like, the lack of red zone or goal line work caps his upside for sure. And then the other part, there's two more prongs to this argument. The other part is the receiving work. Jalen Hurts, when Jalen Hurts has run this Eagles offense in recent years, 2 years ago, they ranked dead last in running back target share. Last year, they ranked 16th league average in running back target share. And so just with a scrambling quarterback, you're never going to get a guy who checks down to the running back a whole lot, and especially in an offense where they've got 2 really strong receivers and a quality tight end who people think could be really, really good if he could just stay on the field. But that's a different story. And his fantasy value has been propped up by that receiving work that he's seen in New York. And then the other part that was really pumping his fantasy value was the fact that he was just on the field. I mean, he's pushed for an 80% snap share in each of the last 2 years. He's ranked top 5 in touches per game in each of the last 2 years. This is an offense that has the quality weapons that they need, that they don't need Saquon Barkley to be on the field for 80% of snaps. I mean, even if you think that like the contract that they gave him like means they're going to use him a ton, I mean, the Eagles will not need to put Saquon Barkley out there that regularly to win football games. This is like a long-term type of deal. They want Saquon Barkley to help them win Super Bowls, not to like just destroy him in the regular season like the Giants had to in hopes of getting to a 10-7 record and not even achieving it. This is a team that expects to win 12 games. It's not a team that's going to be scrapping for a playoff spot like the Giants were. So I just don't see a world where he maintains the sort of workload. This is an offense that doesn't use running backs in the receiving game at the rate that Barkley has been used to. And the scoring opportunities just might not be there, just given how they use Jalen Hurts at the goal line. So at pick like 9 is where he's going in redraft leagues, somewhere between like 9 and 11 most of the time. I don't see it, and I'm not making that pick almost ever.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of Barkley, but just to play a little devil's advocate, 11 touchdowns, running back 12 season for Miles Sanders 2 years ago. DeAndre Swift had 1.5 times as many goal line attempts and just didn't convert on them. I think Saquon could do a better job of that. Maybe the tush push gets reduced without Jason Kelsey. I think that's a false narrative. I don't buy that, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really buy the tush push stuff either.
No, I don't buy it either. But I do think the line is significant. I mean, you can't talk about the 30th ranked line and the second ranked line. Like it's going to be so dramatically improved for him. So I do think the environment in redraft, like where receivers are so deep, I don't mind going Barkley late first, early second by any means. I'm happy to put him there in these best ball drafts where it's a wide receiver fire fest. Like um, it's I'm happy to pass on him though. I don't have I have very low Barkley shares right now in these. We have
So
Bulldog. So we're gonna make our pick and then we'll get to Bulldog. I mean, Josh Allen or Kelsey, I like them both. Do we end our back-to-back Josh Allen drafts here, or
we could go Jacobs to go along with Jefferson as well?
I like that too. I'd rather go one of Allen or Kelsey though myself.
Let's go Allen. Generational buying opportunity in the back of the 4th round.
Yeah, come on.
It's easy to grab Allen at that point in drafts. I mean, not necessarily the easiest, but I mean, Josh Allen in the end of round 4. Come on, like, what are we doing?
Hopefully, and these teams in front of us, a lot of running back investment already. So I'm hoping Jacobs kind of creeps back to us here. Would be a no-brainer in round 5 and correlated with Jefferson should he make it back. I would love to see that for sure. While we're waiting to that pick, Bulldog mentioned he has Marvin Harrison, Neighbors, and Thomas heavily investing in the rookies. In my draft guide, I don't know if you checked it out, Bulldog, I'm all about the rookies this year. It's known as one of the best rookie classes, in particular Marvin Harrison and Neighbors, like just elite of the elite prospects. And Thomas, I think, is looking phenomenal. The wide receiver 4 on everybody's board in this class. I think that if you're ever going to do it, this is the year to do it. Lean into the uncertainty because those are guys that are both potential round 1 picks next year that you're getting, mid round 2, round 4 for Neighbors, round 8 for Brian Thomas. This is when you lean into the rookie receivers. A class like this, I'm all about it.
Yeah. So what are you thinking here with this next pick? I'm going Jacobs if he's there.
Yeah, Jacobs. If not McLaurin, I think. Oh no, well, Kincaid. We could stack up Allen and Kincaid if Jacobs.
Yeah,
I think it's Jacobs or it's Kincaid.
Yeah, the guy in front of us has a tight end and no running back, so I would imagine he's going to go Jacobs, and that would just leave Kincaid for us here.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. I love Allen and Kincaid's gotten rarer and rarer unless you force it, and it's exactly how it goes. James Cook wouldn't have been the end of the world there either to stack up with Allen, but I like the elite tight end edge there, the potential top target catcher. It's going to be fun to have the Allen at this range of the draft too, because you can do a lot of stacking with him that you can't normally do when you have to take him in the late 3rd, early 4th. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'd love to see Reed make it back to us. I don't think he will. Maybe Christian Watson in the next round to get a little bit of that game, because that game environment is going to be – that's what I really do like to make sure I get the pieces on both sides. We'll see how it's planning out. But yeah, what do you think of these 3 rookies? Did Bulldog go rookie fever a little too expensive, too high, or?
That's a little bit aggressive. I mean, we're after drafting all these best ball teams. We're grabbing these rookies at a ridiculously higher price than the redraft space is. But yeah, I think this is a bit much. I love Brian Thomas Jr. As much as the next guy. He is one of my favorite picks on the board. We talked about it on the Sleepers show, but yeah, you're in a spot where, I mean, you're definitely, I would imagine you're starting Neighbors and Harrison Jr., and both of them should get off to strong starts, but you would like to have some veteran presence there just for some stability. But
I don't know. I'm good with it.
With the caliber of prospect we're getting out of Neighbors and Harrison, you can expect high level production from them out of the gate. So I think these two, if anyone's an exception to the rookies start off slow rule, it's going to be Neighbors and Harrison. So I think it can work out, but it does make me nervous.
They're going to go right into 30% target. Maybe not Harrison. Neighbors going to see 30% target share. It's from Daniel Jones. I get it. How valuable is that? I think it's going to be plenty valuable. I could see Harrison pushing for a 27% or so target share. I like McBride, so maybe not, but I think this is the year to do it. And I would like to know, I don't think he's saying necessarily that these are his 3 starting receivers. Maybe he is, and that would be a little spooky. I'm guessing he has some other guys around there. Let me know if you do or do not, Bulldog. But I'm guessing there's some veteran. He's just kind of saying like, oh man, like 3 out of my 6 receivers are rookies. Should I be worried? We'll see what he means there. But I love it. I think it's great. This is the year to get Xavier Worthy in there. Add some more rookies. Add McConkey. Sign me up. I am taking all the rookies at the reduced prices this year. I think it's maybe I have dynasty brain, but I think this is a great rookie class. And they between the running backs and the receivers, they all landed in great spots.
I mean, yeah, I just drafted a keeper league team where I have Odunze and Brian Thomas Jr. So, I mean, I think really highly of this rookie wide receiver class specifically, but it is very, very nerve-wracking to be in a spot where you're likely starting multiple rookie wide receivers from week 1 on. So I understand the nerves, but yeah, they could like these are the caliber of receivers that can pay off like immediately from week 1, and the times they are changing. I mean, we understand what rookie receivers bring to the table. I mean, even in redraft, Marvin Harrison is a 2nd-round pick. So I don't think it's too crazy, but the nerves are warranted.
I'd like to know who else you have, Bulldog. If you're still with us, let us know the whole receiver room. Because yeah, if those are your 3 starters, yeah, I would agree with you. It'd be nice to see even like a DeAndre Hopkins or like some sort of veteran leadership for the fantasy locker room there would be nice. But you got 3 great talents there, so I wouldn't sweat. He also has your boy Kyle Pitts, he says, so he's hoping you're right there. And I don't hate Kyle Pitts this year. I've hated him, and it's never really hurt me these last couple of years. I'm not going overboard like you might be, but I still am a fan. Speaking of rookie receivers, I do like Brian Thomas here.
That's an easy one.
Yeah. I want to bump my exposure. I know you have a good amount. He's one guy I do wish I had more of. And then we'll hit the running back pocket like we always do in this kind of range. Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. This is the type of build I absolutely love. Like, in the way the running back market has been this offseason. What are we at? So we're at Josh Allen, Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, and then we got who's the 3rd receiver there?
We got a pretty strong receiving core. We got Mike Evans and Brian Thomas to round it out. And then we've got the stack going. So Evans in the middle of the 3rd round is it's where I'm willing to take him. Like we talked about that on the last show about that like kind of group of wide receivers, but I think it's a strong pick there. So I'm happy with this team so far. I think we hammer a running back here. Would be nice to get one of either Montgomery or James Conner. They're kind of like the overlooked veterans, but they have been steady. Especially Conner has been steadily producing for years now, and Montgomery in that Detroit offense. I mean, you're gonna get RB2 production basically every week, and we can just take some upside swings later on.
I'm good with that if either of them fall to us. If not, I'd push for Jones with the Vikings thing we got kind of going here. I have seen a lot of times if the Jefferson drafter does not take Aaron Jones, he falls all the way to like 90. He'll come back to us potentially. Similarly with Keon Coleman, like, I'd say like, oh, we should stack up Allen. We've already got him with one weapon, probably the guy we both think is the top target earner here. And I've also seen if the Allen guy passes on Coleman, he just like comes all the way back around. So we could consider him a little bit. What a fall for George Kittle, by the way. I was going to say. And Coleman does actually end up going before us. Do you have a preference between Conner and Montgomery? I love them both.
I'm going to go Montgomery here. I just like the stability of the offensive environment. And we know that
flares up again. I mean, Gibbs has had these concerns. As much as I love Gibbs, I'm not trying to bash him. If that thing flares up at any point this season, we get just full blown. So Montgomery have a 30-point day last year. There's definitely upside to him. So I think it's great. And then goes Conner right there, right after him. It's such a good range of running backs in general.
I mean, that's just like the pocket where you have to hammer running back. Like if you're like in a spot where you have to take receiver in that range, like not necessarily in this range, but like 10 picks from now, if you're in a spot where you have to like structurally have to be like taking receivers, it's just so frustrating because you don't feel comfortable and there's just so many good running back values on the board. I like to be taking running back in like the
Mhm.
range of pick 75 to pick 100. I mean, that's really where I want to be filling out my running back room.
It is wild too, like how I know we've said this a few times on this show, like how it's the complete opposite in redraft, where this is the range where like right there in round 7 would have been Terry McLaurin, round 8 would have been Xavier Worthy, round 9 would have been like Calvin Ridley. It's crazy, and that's why your philosophy. I wrote about it in the draft guide, rotostreetjournal.com/draft guide. I have a bit of best ball, a lot of redraft because I know that's the kind of main audience we have here. But it's almost like it's two different pockets. This is the on Underdog, the absolute golden zone, the running back oasis, I think is what Pat Kerrane calls it. And redraft, it's going to be the wide receiver gold mine, is what I call it. Like 5 to 8, you can just get so many good receivers. And we talked about on the Receiver Show, Brian Thomas round 10, Ladd McConkey round 11. It's just so different. It's such a different beast. So hopefully you guys are kind of attacking that and realizing it if you've been playing for both here. So did you want to add on to that before Bulldog gives us a little more context?
It was just like about just generally about home league ADP. It's just like there's just so many good wide receiver values that like if I'm not in a position, like if I have to grab running back in that range, I just feel bad about myself. Like,
yeah.
Am I really gonna take like Austin Eckler over Brian Thomas Jr. or like something like that? Like if I'm not squared away at running back and like have to do it for the sake of having bodies, it's just so frustrating because of what you can get in those leagues. It's just brutal.
It's why I really don't mind running back. Like last year was not a good year to do it. This year's a whole different dichotomy, I think. And it's not like it's the must-do strategy. I do typically prefer an elite running back and then elite receiver, and you kind of balance it out, especially if you start 3 receivers. But when you start 2 receivers, which I do in my college league, I went Brees Hall at 4, and then I went Isaiah Pacheco in round 2, and I went Jalen Hurts in round 3, and I still have like I think I have Devonta Smith, like Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin as my 3 receivers. Like, okay, sweet. Xavier Worthy's in there. I think I have Brian Thomas and AD. Like, it's just you can just make these stacked receiver rooms and not even touch the position till round 5. It's nuts.
It's pretty insane. I'm just really curious to know how people are going to react to this Rashee Rice stuff. Like, is he gonna be available like in the round 7 range where he had been, like in terms of his redraft ADP? Is that where he's still gonna sit? We're on the clock here. There's not a whole lot here. This is a running back range. Do you want to just grab a running back here?
I'm good with either Warren. I do like getting some Pollard, and Pollard goes with the Brian Thomas thing.
Yeah, well. Let's go ahead.
And he looked good this preseason. That's a guy that I've kind of like. That could have been a fun show topic if we were actually going to be organized with this. Is like, who did you fade that you're like trying to
flip? Tony Pollard was definitely a fade for me throughout the off season, and yeah, I am regretting it to some degree because I mean a lot of it was like because Tony Pollard's bread and butter was the burst and the explosive playmaking, and then he just looked like he had completely lost that. And we always knew that it was a possibility that it was like due to that like Liz Frank stuff and he was recovering from injury, but it did look like, and I don't like to buy into like the performance in the preseason just because it's how small of a sample size it is, but like he did look like he had that burst back, which is kind of killer for the fades. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. And I was mostly getting to the Tennessee stuff through the pass catchers anyways. I think Tajay Spears is a decent pick in PPR leagues. I mean, top 10 in target share and total targets last year as a rookie. And now there's an opportunity for him to be the 1A. I mean,
they've been peppering the backs this preseason too. Like both Pollard and Spears have been like 5 to 6 targets each within like very small drives. I'm with you. I like them both. I just more so I have a lot of Spears already. I was like, oh, I'll get the cheaper guy in a 1A, 1B, but now it's almost looking like a 1 and 2. Either way, I just don't have a lot of Pollard. He looks good. Like I don't want to get completely buried by being mostly out. So yeah, I'm with you. I think your whole take is exactly right.
I agree. I think that's completely understandable. We're about to be on the clock here. I've got Shakir queued up. And I also wouldn't mind going Jaden Daniels, but we don't really need Daniels on an Allen team. I think Shakir is probably the best call here.
Probably, but I'm with you where I want more Daniels. So if you wanted to do it, I'd be totally fine with it.
All right, let's do it. Let's have some fun. It's our last Best Ball Mania draft together as a. It's going to be your last Best Ball Mania draft in general, right? This thing is going to be filled by the time you're all. I mean, it'll be mine as well. So yeah, it's our last Best Ball Mania draft. Why not go two high-end Russian quarterbacks? We get ADP value on both. So I don't see why not. It's let's have some fun. We get a little bit. We think Jaden Daniels is the guy we need the more exposure to. So we've already got the Allen stack. You can figure out Daniels a little bit later. So yeah, let's roll with it.
Here we go. Let's have some fun, baby. I'm with you too. I think he's going to be like the league winner. And Shakir obviously made a little more sense, but we have 4 great receivers. Like if we're playing this in terms of what do we, it's just we're playing into the strengths of our team here. We're going for a complete home run swing. I doubt we're going to get a lot of Allen, Jaden Daniels teams in there too. Like if you take Allen, you take him, a lot earlier than we did, and you're probably not investing in Jaden. You're not seeing the same side of the board that we are typically, like we are right here. So I love it. I think it's a great pick. Chase Brown was going to be somebody I tossed out there, and he went the pick before us, but I didn't even realize Jaden Daniels was still there. So let's do it. Let's have some fun. And we can go Noah Brown late now. He's signed over there. Diami Brown, I'm still somewhat interested in.
Noah Brown. What was that?
He's with the Commanders now. I think Noah Brown could play.
Yeah, no, I know what team he's on, but is he a good pick?
So who do you like behind? You're the McCaffrey, the LMC guy who can't get out of the fourth quarter in preseason games and isn't making any plays against the accountants that are now taking their offices over there. I like Noah Brown, who had like 200 yards in 3 different games last year. A little bit more than him.
He didn't have a 100-yard game in his career before that.
Hey, I hear some bag defense. I hear some bag defending over there.
I mean, just like I'd rather take the swing at Luke McCaffrey than I would I know Noah Brown on his best day is mediocre. Maybe better than mediocre on his best day, but 9 days out of 10 is mediocre at best.
Multiple 30-point fantasy days last year. All I'm saying, I could see Noah Brown. I guess the main argument for Noah Brown over McCaffrey was nobody's drafted Noah Brown all summer, and now there's at least there's a better path. I guess being a handcuff to all 3 of those guys was a path in its own right too. But I think there's a pretty decent path. He's like the clear number 2 to Terry McLaurin. And if we believe in Daniels as much as we do to take him on a Josh Allen team, I like Diami Brown. I guess I'm just much lower on McCaffrey than you are. I have no. It's a McCaffrey. I get the bloodline. It's not my thing.
Can you legitimately close your eyes and genuinely believe that Noah Brown is the number 2 in Washington?
I could. Yes, I can.
We see different things when we close our eyes, I guess.
I'm so excited to close my eyes and picture Noah Brown racking up 200-yard days with Jaden Daniels this year. Oh, man. No, I'm not banging the drum for Noah Brown. I'm just saying the main point was Daniels is nice because you can stack him so late.
I get where you're coming from. You want
to be Noah Brown, you want to be Diami Brown, or I guess Luke Benson. Not though. I like him late. There's a lot of late outs with Daniels.
There are several.
Which is around this point. I like Singletary a lot if he makes.
That's what I was gonna. That's my preferred pick here. Just lock up some touches, in the range of 200 carries. Just get him onto the team.
Maybe the range of 270. I'm not even kidding you. Who? Tyron Tracy maybe, but I could see Motor just getting 250 to 270. He's done it before with Dayball. He could do it again.
Has he cleared 250 carries in a season before?
Maybe not 250, but
no way.
I was thinking 250 touches. He's definitely had a couple seasons with Dayball where he's had 40 catches and 200 carries. I'll do some research while we're here.
Last year he had 216 carries, and he wasn't. When did he take over fully? Week 6 or so. So yeah,
Multiple 30 carry days, like
yeah, he had two. He flirted with it last year. He had 240 touches, including receptions. So 246 to be exact. So he just about got there last year. And if the 80% snap share that he saw in the last preseason game is not going to hold up, but if he can get like in the range of like 70, that would be kind of crazy for what he would do in terms of just like his volume and being the running back 3 on this roster.
Yeah, and just in terms of like a home league update, Bulldog mentioning where she went in the 4th last night. I certainly think that's where he should go.
Yeah.
Deserves to go in the 4th, and so now that it's getting corrected, you got to be ready to take him in the 4th. I think Toons was asking, "What are you doing in round 3-4 turn in a 10-teamer?" Rashee Rice definitely warrants some consideration there, no doubt about it. And Bulldog did mention too, he has McLaurin as a veteran presence in that receiver-laden room. Perfect veteran presence to add to something of that nature. We are about to be up. I don't hate Lockett here.
It's quite boring, but I mean, we're in the crusty wide receiver portion of the draft, and we do kind of need a 5th one here. So I'm fine with Lockett here.
Yeah, him or Eckler. I don't hate Eckler to like stack
He's
up.
gone, unfortunately. Oh no, he's not. Do you want to play? I don't. I'd rather go Lockett.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And maybe Eckler makes it back to us.
Yeah.
There's just better running back depth. Lockett is so underappreciated. And maybe this is the year JSN leaps him and he just fades into the night. He's been hurt all camp and all that. But I don't know. I've always been a Lockett guy, and I've always been happy that I'm a Lockett guy. Like he rarely disappoints, and certainly in the best ball format. Like, I want this grub attack, and I think everyone's anointing JSN, probably rightly so, but maybe a little too early, or maybe it's a more of a three-way spread than people are giving it credit for. I'm a big Lockett fan, and Mike Williams might have made sense there too with the Josh Allen thing. But we just did Josh Allen, Mike Williams, and let's get a little different flavor here.
Yeah, I agree. And we can play, as fun as it is, we can play for Darnell Mooney as well with our next pick to go along with Jaden Daniels. But we'll figure it out when we get there. Just so many fun ways to correlate Jaden Daniels this year.
Yeah, I love that game too. The Washington Commanders versus the Falcons there. I think that's going to be an absolute aerial bonanza for Kirk Cousins. So I'm good to get some Mooney there potentially. I am a little disappointed. We didn't really end up with any of the Packers on the other side of things. It just didn't work out. Dobbs went ahead of ADP. Wicks went ahead of ADP. I think we had the shot at Jacobs, but like, am I really going to pass on Josh Allen in the late fourth for Jacobs? No.
Not on your last best ball draft or best ball mania draft of the summer.
No. You can always toss in a Marshawn Lloyd or Emmanuel Wilson late, or a Tucker Kraft late, perhaps.
100%.
I love a last round Tucker Kraft here.
What's your case for this guy outperforming Musgrave?
The fact that as soon as he was healthy, he sent Musgrave to the bench and is now running as the clear-cut number one in camp. That he's a yak monster, according to Jordan Love. That Musgrave has all the measurables, but he can never stay healthy, never stays on the field. Had all this time to separate as the clear-cut guy, didn't do it. I just, at minimum, the fact that he goes 50 picks ahead of Kraft makes zero sense to me. And I do think the other thing I love about Kraft is he's just an absolute bulldozer as a blocker, and that keeps you on the field for far more of the snaps. That gives you the play action opportunities that could be so valuable. I just think Musgrave, I know we had a show at one point where it was like, who do you want more on your team? Who do you want to draft more of? And I think I picked Musgrave, but then a week later, Kraft comes back and just immediately jumped him. And before he got hurt, I was Kraft over Musgrave. I immediately flipped it back. I don't want any Musgrave. I'll go back and rewind on that show, delete the tape.
Delete the tape.
Delete the tape. I want, but Kraft is one of the best last round picks you can possibly make. I don't know. What has you clinging to Musgrave at this point?
It's not. I just needed someone to make the case to me. I don't have a good read on this either way. And I think you made a strong one. And I do need to diversify my punt tight end last round clicks. And I mean, why not? Good offense. If he if you believe that he can legitimately overtake the 1A. I mean, like, I don't think there's ever like one of them is not going to ever totally ice the other. It's going to be like
that's the tough part.
A messy rotation, but still like in this offense where we think that like it's going to be a rotation. Like, yeah, like you said, why is Musgrave going so far ahead of a Kraft? So might as well like to mix it up in my last round clicks. And we're about to be on the clock here. Kind of unfortunate to see Darnell Mooney go off the board there, but we could go Algier here to give us something from Atlanta.
Yeah, let me see. Can I see the board? I don't hate Algier at all there. I think that's probably a solid pick. Try to hide Zeke from me over there, and I don't blame you. I have enough Zeke. My bag's already packed. I don't hate Dobbins. For all the Gus I have, it's like, I wouldn't hate a little Dobbins, but if you want to go Algier,
I'm going to go Algier here. I can't bring myself to chase Dobbins up the draft board because, like, just fundamentally, I thought that this is what it was going to be, and I still didn't draft Dobbins in the 180s. Like, I thought he was going to have the crack at the second, like, the 1B role, and I still wouldn't draft him in the 180s regardless of what, like, the reports were about his health. I mean, I thought he was going to come out onto the NFL practice field looking fine. I mean, the guy had been recovering for well over a year. So like the things are playing out how they anticipated them to, and I still wasn't buying him at the cheaper price. And so I just don't want to be chasing him up the board when I could have, and I was fundamentally against it 40 picks later last month.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I hope he's nothing because my Gus Edwards bags sadly got quite stuffed early on in my drafts, way more than they ever should have. So I'm hoping that doesn't kill me in my portfolio this year, is being overexposed to Gus and Zeke. I look at my portfolio, it's like it's the most boring, but sometimes the most boring guys are like the ones that end up you need. And my most highest owned guy is still on the board right now, which I hope he makes it back to us. That's Jalen Wright.
I thought you were about to say Ezekiel Elliott was your highest owned player.
No, but he's up there. He's like in my top 5 running backs, sadly.
Sadly.
Yeah. I still think, though, like he's probably going to score 8 touchdowns, probably going to catch 30 to 50 balls. It's going to be ugly while he does it. And I think you're going to be – I don't think anybody's going to be overly pissed that they have Zeke Elliott on the team. In fact, I think a lot of people will be like, damn, like, decent flex guy that I wish I had tossed in here. I think Dottle is getting a little too much, like – maybe I saw the whole clip about him getting off special teams because they
playing less special teams reps.
Yeah.
I think we got to go receiver here.
I like the Ray Davis cue that you have right there.
All right, I'll go for it, and then hammer receiver in these last couple of rounds.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and this is why I love starting receivers early. It opens up the door to this is the range where you want to be hitting running backs. Your boy Jalil's out there. That could have been an interesting one as well. But what do you have for receivers? We already have 5 decent ones, right? Lockett's our 5th. Like I feel okay about that, Jeff. When you start receiver, you gotta have confidence that you made the right call. Those 3 guys are going to be in your lineup far more weeks than not. Like I don't need to keep plucking DeMario Douglas. Give me Ray Davis, the guy that if something happens and is the running back 1 for the Bills, he's going to be scoring 15 to 20 points a week. I don't need Douglas right now.
Jaleel McLaughlin, though, how packed are your bags?
Not as much as yours. That's for damn sure.
Did you see Barrett's tweet today? It's 5 times Sean Payton's running back 2 has averaged 16.5 points per game.
It's crazy.
It's just bonkers. I mean, he was great as a receiver last year. A super small sample size, so you can't lean into it that heavily, but boy, am I excited to see what Jaleel McLaughlin does on an NFL football field this year. I mean, 5-6 targets a game, give him a couple of carries. I mean,
I'm with
8 carries. I mean, whew. Running back 48, I think, in home leagues right now. What else are you getting in that kind of range in terms of other than just pure handcuffs? And some of them are the bad handcuffs too. Jaleel McLaughlin has standalone value in this offense. I mean, we know that Javonte, he can catch the ball, but He's not as strong as a receiving back as Jaleel. I think Jaleel's got the burst and change of pace type of deal to eat into the rushing work. It's just everything is falling into place for Jaleel McLaughlin to have at least have the opportunity to show what he can do. And I have been sold that he is talented enough to seize that opportunity and create as a result.
I'm with you. And I hope after that hype storm, he still makes it back to us, because I would pluck him right here in the next round if he does.
There he goes.
And right on cue. He sniped right under us. I wish I had more of him. I kind of knew Piran was going to leave, and yet I still didn't pack my Jaleel McLaughlin quite as much as it could have. What I have done is I want to leave with at least one Denver running back for the last month or so, after we've talked about how valuable that backfield is. That's manifested in a lot more Audric Estime than it has anybody else. And the worst of the three, I'm not arguing that. But as a last round click, I continue to just hammer him. Because if Javonte goes down, it's not like McLaughlin's going to be the handcuff. He's clear cut in that very valuable, potentially Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush role. It has been infinitely valuable. So I think he's going to be a great click. I wish I had more. I kind of, over Ray Davis maybe there. But it's nice to have something with Josh Allen.
He's like Darren Sproles, but better.
I don't slander Darren Sproles over here. I'm a Darren Sproles lover till I die. I'm looking at the squad though, and what's our receiver bye week look like? Because if they're all pretty spread out, I think this is probably a second receiver build.
We've got our top two on bye in week 6.
It's week 6. Who cares? We'll be fine. I really don't know that we expand beyond 7. And then at the same time, we have already Kincaid and already Allen locked up. I'm feeling a 2-7-7-2 here to wrap up our draft season.
Who do you want out of this bunch? Bateman?
Do we need a receiver? These guys all suck. Maybe Bateman.
There's not a whole lot else.
Get your boy Herbert.
All right, one more Khalil Herbert share to close out the year.
So much better than all the other. These receivers are crap. Yoshi's just as good as any of these guys 2 rounds later. Demarcus Robinson's now falling the 180s again. You know my boy.
I can't draft any more Demarcus Robinson.
I can't either. I haven't in a long time.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say how much Demarcus Robinson I have. It's
you're gonna be happy about it. I promise you.
I hope I'm only gonna be happy about it 3 times, I think, and I just hope they're in the right weeks. That's what I'm hoping for.
He's going to put up some steady numbers. It's again, I look at my portfolio. I'm like, damn, this is far from the least sexy portfolio when big names are Robinson and Zeke and Gus Edwards. I'm like, what have I done to myself?
How the turntables? I mean, you had Tank Dell as your number 1 owned player last year. Yeah. And now we're moving on to Gus Edwards and
Kyron was up there last year. Hey, we'll see how it pans out.
Hey, this is the year of the plotter compiler running backs.
Yes, exactly.
They go for 4.1 yards a carry, but they fall forward into the end zone 10 to 11 times.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I need. I hope to God. Plus Herbert and Lockett there, a little correlation for our bags in week 17 there. Why don't we queue up the queue there? Let's see what's available. I don't hate Bateman. I know it doesn't correlate with much we got though. I love Greg Dortch. I know you've had enough of DeMarcus, so that's fine. Do any
legally,
of these guys?
I can't take him.
What's that?
I said legally, I can't take him.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Bateman.
I am too.
Or Dortch, if you'd rather go him. Or
Yoshi. Year 4 breakout for Rashad Bateman.
I know. I mean, I honestly feel a little bit better about Yoshi. I'm not gonna
lie. But Bateman is in camp. He was a top wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
Per John Harbaugh.
What about Dortch though? You'd rather go Bateman than Dortch?
Yeah, I would. The Dortcher chamber will be there for us in the next pick, hopefully. What do you get? We didn't even have the option. Dortch was gone.
He was gone anyways. Okay.
I get the man coverage score and he super high success rate against man, but Marvin Harrison, target hog. Trey McBride, I think, is awesome and was a target hog last year. Like, it's.
Have you seen the Gambit videos?
I don't know.
This guy is the fastest human I've ever seen. And those Gambit videos are ridiculous.
Who said that?
I've just been watching those clips. Have you seen him trusting the Colts players? Like, I don't know. I'm a big Dortch fan. I've always been. I know Liam is with us, a huge Dorcher Chamber fan as well. What up, Hits and Hits? Great to see you. Great name there, Wolf. Great to see you. But any other questions and comments, guys? We're going to wrap up this draft, and I got to get running. I don't have a ton of time to kind of do a huge review or anything. Got to get down to dinner. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, get them on in now. We wrap out our last two shots here at this Millie. Samaje Perine going early again. Too early for us, sadly, to land any shares of him. I saw I had like at least 3 drafts with him. I don't know when I did it. I have a lot on DraftKings actually too. He's been like around 20 click for me all off season.
Wait, who was that?
Samaje Perine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got ahead of that on DraftKings by a big mile. So
just like playing for maybe he doesn't get cut, and then like there's a couple weeks where he catches a pass and goes in the end zone.
No, I was playing for him to get cut and go to the Bengals again. I did not predict a world where he was going to go to the Chiefs, and he's here, and I love it.
Someone did on Twitter. They called it the day before.
Yeah, it's a good hit. I mean, they and when you look at it in hindsight, it's like, yeah, of course they need a McKinnon. They need something.
I'm at level exposure on Perine on DraftKings. Actually, I did not anticipate that.
Are you already up there?
No, I'm level. I'm at 8%. So I don't know.
Torture chamber sounds like the feeling of drafting or starting him, perhaps. Yeah, put your own self into the torture chamber for sure. What's up, D-Lo? Good to see you, brother. For sure. All righty. So yeah, what do we need? At least one tight end. Probably Ben Sinnott is
Benny S. Yeah, we'll take him with this pick.
Yeah, is that typically where his ADP is? Because I know he started to fall pretty decent.
It's 6 spots ahead of ADP, or 6 spots behind ADP if we grab him with our pick.
Okay, perfect. We get a value and the guy that we want.
Yeah, and I mean, we just need a tight end.
Yeah, let's stuff the queue, though. Let me see what we got. Again, I think this team could be a 2-7-7-2, maybe a 2-6-8-2, maybe a 2-5-7-3, something of that nature. I see my boy DeMarcus. One last.
I also see Marvin Mims.
I'll tell you this. I have a lot of both those guys, unfortunately. And I'd much rather add more DeMarcus to my portfolio.
I was going to say, yeah, who's the greater evil, Marvin Mims or DeMarcus Robinson?
Robinson's not going to be a 0. Mims, if Mims hits, he could actually really hit. But I have enough bets to find out if he hits. I do not want any more. Robinson's going to be more than fine.
What are you doing with Troy Franklin these days?
Nothing. Don't want him. He's nothing. He's dust.
I mean, before all the cuts, he was like the wide receiver 7, but now he's like the wide receiver 4. And
no, he's behind like something Vele, whatever that dude's name
like Devon Vele or something like that. Yeah,
I want nothing to do with it.
Is he like confirmed behind that guy?
I think so.
Yeah, that's a nightmare if he is.
That's like one of the Sean Payton, just like, I want to prove I'm smarter than everybody. I'm gonna just put this guy above Mims and Franklin, and just
that's the Lil Jordan Humphrey and Brandon Johnson play.
Exactly, like that's exactly what it is.
But is Mims not starting in 3 wide receiver sets? Like, what world is he not?
I sure hope he is, because I have
about LA guy gets out there.
I really hope he is. I can't imagine a world where he shouldn't be, but that's where we've arrived to.
If this Vele guy gets out there, we're toast.
Yes, we sure could be. So yeah, do you mind scrolling down so we can see a little bit of? We got 2 picks left. I do think if you boy McCaffrey again,
we don't have to. We're correlated to some degree with Daniels.
Yeah, of course. I like to stack him up, and if you want it to be McCaffrey, I like Noah Brown or Diami Brown.
That's crazy talk to me.
Well, you can make it your boy McCaffrey, and then
it's just like I don't understand preferring one of them to Luke McCaffrey. Like, I am like 90% convinced both of those guys are bad. And I'm not convinced Luke McCaffrey is bad just yet.
He can't dust the UPS drivers that he was going against in the fourth quarter all preseason. I don't know what else we need to see. This ex-quarterback, maybe you get the emergency quarterback bump for
exactly. You're gonna get a quarterback starting in your tight or in your wide receiver slot in week 17.
Yeah,
Daniels has gone down.
Yeah. We get the Daniels handcuff here.
Exactly. It's basically what it is. Sam Hartman stinks. I don't even know if he's the QB2 there or not, but he stinks. It's basically like drafting a quarterback and a wide receiver all bundled in together.
What a bundle it is. No, I'm fine. I don't have a lot of them, and I'm cool adding.
No, do you want to go running back here? It gets pretty hairy after this.
Do you think McCaffrey makes it back to us?
I don't care if McCaffrey makes it back to us. I don't care about getting that share or not. The bags are packed.
Then I'm down for another estimate.
All righty.
Or a Damian, not Damian Pierce, a Will Shipley. I'm cool with too.
All you had to say is I'm down, and I was going to click the name.
Yeah, estimate. Yeah, I think he's a great click. I really do. I think he has like Mark Ingram, like the Mark Ingram to Javonte potential from the jump. And then if something happened to Javonte, he could. I love him. I really do love the player. I think I ended up with like 60% of him in the big board drafts we did. I had a lot of estimate hoping for a Cowboys landing spot, but I really don't think this is a bad one. And Peyton has just raved about it all offseason.
I feel like Peyton is always raving about the guys I don't want him to rave about, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
I know. The only reason the running back, we needed a receiver more. The only thing I don't love about this is it does take us from taking Tucker Kraft, who I was just absolutely gushing over earlier. Because I don't think we can go 2-7-6-3 with our last team here, unfortunately. But I do love Estime, and our running back room is like it's not the best. Like there's some usability, but
this is a running back room full of plotters and just hopeful touches.
The plotters will take us to the promised land, dude.
I mean, that's the narrative you're pushing. It's the year of the plotter.
Year of the plotter, baby. Just get yourself
get it out there. Get it out there onto Twitter before it comes true. Because if you can call the year of the plotter in August before it happens, that is just ultimate props to you.
It would be so counterintuitive to like beat out 670,000 other people on the backs of just mules that just
but Devin Singletary, league winner. Ray Davis, league winner. David Montgomery, league winner. Just all of these just not fun clicks whatsoever. That's what you end up needing.
Eat your vegetables. Get your plotters, eat your vegetables, drink your glass of milk. We just have a bunch of glasses of milk on our team.
Is David Montgomery the green beans of the running back crop in 2024?
Yes, that's exactly what we got. Just a stack of green beans and whole milk on this roster.
Criminal.
Oh, it's ugly.
Here, I'm going to queue up Corley for Josh Allen.
I hate Corley, dude. I don't know. I'd go Diami Brown. We got to get at least one weapon. Or Noah Brown. We started with Noah Brown on the show.
I will. How bad is he?
I don't think Noah Brown's bad at all. I really like Noah Brown. Like I thought he was really, really solid with I know CJ Stroud is a talent elevator, and he didn't do a whole ton until he got there. Really nothing till he got there. But like Corley isn't even in like the fourth quarter isn't playing anything more than 3 receiver sets. He doesn't get in it at all. He's a complete design. I mean, I like the player though. Like he is like explosive and fun and makes some sense.
I'll take Diami Brown over Corley, but I don't know if I can convince myself of Noah Brown.
Oh man, I know it's.
All right, Diami Brown or Corley? I'll leave it to you.
I'll go Diami there then.
All right.
It stacks up with our QB. He's been on the field a ton. He's looked good this preseason. He's one of those weird ones. I took him a lot in Dynasty early on, so maybe I'm bag defending like my old Corpse Dynasty teams. But I just think like whenever he got used last year, even like there was a Thursday night game where he caught like a 50-yard touchdown. And you're like, damn, why don't they ever like roll this dude out? There goes Tucker Kraft. I guess I'm not insane either. I like De'Ami Brown. I would have liked him more if Noah Brown hadn't arrived because I really do think Noah Brown could push him for the number 2 role. I think you should be a little more worried about Noah Brown for your McCaffrey shares than you are right now.
Worried about it, sure, but thinking that he's good, no. Like, there's a difference between like being on the field and like being productive while you're on the field. I'm pretty sure he's going to be unproductive.
You can't put up like 150 yards multiple times in a year, even again if CJ Stroud's a QB. Yes, like of course that doesn't hurt. But this was like CJ Stroud that nobody was like, oh my God, Stroud's gonna like make Noah Brown a monster in fantasy. I don't know. I'm gonna pull it up real quick before we sign off. A Noah Brown stat to wrap up our best ball season. Scott Barrett had a tweet on him that really caught my eye the other day. Which you probably have muted because you need to defend those McCaffrey shares over there.
I don't see him.
Yeah, you have Noah Brown just blocked on Twitter.
Yeah, anything with Noah Brown in the title, I don't. I just don't see him.
Hold on, let me see. What did he have? Noah Brown averaged 20.1 fantasy points per game in his healthy games last year. He exceeded 150 yards in 2 of those 3 games. Yeah, I'm telling you, this guy is not just a complete and utter bum as I think you're making him out to be.
I'm pretty sure he's a complete and utter bum.
All right. You better hope so for those McCaffrey bags over there.
More often than not, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I get it. I don't think he's anything to here. One last question from Jaws here. Any interest in Mechie in Dynasty? Even if he doesn't get traded, like I don't hate him at all. I think he's definitely a good stash right now. I picked him up on a couple of waiver wires in Dynasty leagues. If he gets traded, great. Like I think LAC, Atlanta, those are great potential destinations right now with wide open shares. But even if not, now he's the Noah Brown on this team. And they felt good enough about him to cut Noah Brown, this absolute stud, this target hog receiver.
Is the Texans cutting Noah Brown a bull case for John Mechie because he's that damn good?
It's a huge that you could move on from a star like Noah. I think Mechie's definitely worth a dynasty hold, Jaws, though. Seeing where he gets moved, and even if not, I think it's a good spot. But no, I do need to unfortunately sign off, guys. This has been such a fun best ball season. I'm pumped we were able to get a couple last ones in. A very interesting one here, too, with a Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels build, the receiver stack that we like to go with, a 2-7-7-2, not Mo's favorite build, but some interesting plotting stabs. I think for a plotter team, I think it'd be as interesting as of plotters as you could possibly compile. So you should just name it Plotters. You can like name the team on Underdog.
Oh yeah, this will be Plotters for sure.
This will be Plotters. and when Plotters takes down $1.5 million, we're gonna rewind the tape. We're gonna point to this moment and say, "Thank God we fired those 2 up." If only it had Noah Brown on it, we would have been. We won 500,000, but Noah Brown would have pushed us to the 1.5 million.
Noah Brown goes on the list of what if that's the guy you need in Week 17.
Yeah, Khalif Raymond, some real luminaries, on that list.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Oh man. Well, Mo, anything you want to pump out before we get signed off here?
Yeah, go check out the Instagram. Go check out my Brian Robinson propaganda. Get fired up for the trade value chart. And I just got the thumbs up to start shit posting on the Instagram. So enjoy my comedic thoughts and musings as they pertain to fantasy football. Those will be coming out in droves. One coming out in about 10 minutes.
I love it. Like I said, I love doing those too. So I'm excited to kind of let a little loose here with the IG. And we've got some good growth over there. Over 3,000. We crossed the threshold. I saw you're crushing it, my man. So we appreciate it. You guys don't follow us already on Instagram, but you're on there. And who's not on Instagram, hit that follow there. If you're not on our YouTube subs, would love the subs as we climb to 4K here. Really, really greatly appreciate it. One last plea, of course, too, for that rotostreetjournal.com/draft guide. No spacing there. It's also pinned right at the top of the website. I promise it will be the best investment. $10 you spend, less than a Starbucks coffee these days. You can get all the fantasy goodness you could possibly ask for. Best ball redraft. It's updated up to the Samaje Perine news at this point. I just sent out a new one to everyone who's bought it. We've had such great support, such great feedback. We so greatly appreciate it. It's the one thing we charge for. It helps keep the lights on over here for a small fantasy brand. So please do consider rotostreetjournal.com/draft guide, checking that out, hitting that thumbs up on your way out. Thanks again, guys. It's such a fun best ball season. I think we have planned for Monday at some point a My Guys episode with me, Mo, and the Truth to kind of wrap up the entire fantasy season. And then we're here. We're live. It's going to be a great kickoff there with the Chiefs and Ravens. I cannot wait. So we've arrived.
We basically did it. We did it. We bridged the gap between last football season and this. Yeah, we're there.
The best. I know. I'm back at school, and it's like, I'm sad until football's back on the TV. And it's like, okay, the pain is completely eased. I am numb because football's here, baby. Let's go. rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Check it on out, Wolfpack. Thanks again.